The Old Legend of the Dogwood, author unknown. 2,000 years ago, few trees in the Middle East were big enough to construct anything. However, one tree was valued above the others for its thick trunk and fine, strong wood. When the Romans came to rule over Jerusalem, their government used this same timber to build the crosses for executing criminals. A group of workers were assigned to gather wood for the crosses. Before long, every Roman official knew that the best wood came from these gatherers in wood. So those workers became popular. One day, the wood gatherers received a special request. An officer of the Roman court came and said, "The King of Jews is to be put to death. Deliver an extra large cross made from your finest wood." So a fresh tree was cut from the forest of the trees with thick trunks and fine, strong wood. An extra tall and extra heavy cross was quickly made and delivered. 3 days after the death of Jesus of Nazareth, the chief wood gatherer got alarming news. "All of our finest trees are withering," the message whispered. The wood gatherer hurried to the forest and saw that it was true. Several years later, the chief wood gatherer heard that every spring many people visited the old forest that had once made his job so easy. Despite his advancing years, he set out to discover why. He saw the remains of the forest, now like a salty bottoms, with only a few trees still standing tall, baked, lifeless, and rotting. But what was this? As he drew closer, his feeble eyes could make out the people walking among thousands of beautiful flowering bushes. Seeing one of his own workers there, the old man said, "No one could ever make a cross out of this twisted wood. Our finest trees have gone to the dogs." He noticed the beautiful white flowers, each blossom looking as if it had been burned from the touch of a miniature cross. And an old and beautiful legend has it that at the time of the crucifixion, the dogwood was of comparable size to the oak tree and other monarchs of the forest. Because of its firmness and strength, it was selected as the timber for the cross. But to be put to such a cruel use greatly distressed the tree. Sensing this, the crucified Jesus, in his gentle pity for the sorrow and suffering of all, said to it, "Because of your sorrow and pity for my suffering, never again will the dogwood tree grow large enough to be used as a giblet. Henceforth it will be a slender, bent, and twisted, and its blossoms will be in the form of a cross, 2 long and 2 short petals. In the center of the outer edge of each petal will be the nail prints, brown with rust and stained with red, and in the center of the flower will be a crown of thorns. All who see this will remember." As legend has it, the cross on which Jesus was crucified was made from the dogwood tree. God decreed that the dogwood tree would, from that day forth, never grow large enough to be used to make a cross. Thus, the dogwood tree is small, 4 petals, which make the shape of a cross. The center of the flower resembles the crown of thorns with bright red clustered fruit in the center representing the blood of Christ. The dogwood blooms in April, when Easter Sunday marks the resurrection of Christ after the crucifixion.